Well, good evening, everyone. Chris and Tammy here. It's always an honor and a pleasure to share on the Goal for Diamond this evening. And this evening, we're going to be talking about a training that is very, very important. And often there's an expression that we use is the fortune is in the follow-up. And this is something that couldn't be closer to the truth. And that's something that Tammy and I have witnessed time and time again. And we felt that this training is absolutely critical. So we really want to make it justice. If you happen to have some comments, feedback while the training is taking place, by all means, please do so. If you happen to be on Facebook Live, we want to thank you for joining in. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. We appreciate hearts. We appreciate thumbs ups and comments, and you can also participate. And even if I don't participate in real time, I will always come back and check your messages and comment on questions or feedback if there are any. So Tammy, before we begin, do you have any thoughts that you want to share?
Just to make sure that if you are looking at this training session and you have not gone through the prospecting and inviting process, I highly recommend to go back, because this is a follow through of those two very, very important elements that we cannot stress enough, because this is really the most important part of building your business is in the follow-up process. And most people miss the target on this one. So that's why we want to go deep into this follow-up training with everybody and take notes, because there might be something that we're going to say this evening or this afternoon or good morning to you. You may really catch something that has been missing in your process of connecting with people, whether it's in person, belly to belly, whether it's on a Zoom session, or it doesn't matter on social media. When you're connecting with people in any platform, it all requires serious follow-up, which takes many times. Yeah,
Absolutely. And also, yes, there is some folks actually, in fact, Ed Bankang is actually here from the Philippines. There's a few people joining in from the Philippines. So good morning to you. And I know in North America, we lost an hour. So we're back to the normal North American Eastern Daylight Time, or is that correct? Is that the EST Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time? And so things are a little bit earlier for you in the Philippines. So thank you for joining in. Certainly appreciate you. Now, guys, what again, Tammy talked about here is a cycle, right? And the cycle is really critical because it's the trust. And, you know, building network marketing today, it is not like it was even 3 years ago. Things are changing. Things are evolving. The tools that we're using are evolving, but the basic principles change, does not change, right? As often I use this example where, you know, hundreds of millions of years on planet Earth, gravity is exactly the same as it was. These are constants. So that's what I'm talking about. So the fact is, we talk about prospecting, and this is important to go through this, the inviting process, and of course, the following up. And this is where most people drop the ball, is they stop before the follow through. And often, if they would have just continued in providing the information, educating the person, building on the relationship, and these are all the things we're going to touch on, this is exactly the way, the difference between the successful networkers and the networkers that might be a bit struggling. That is the missing piece. That's the missing link, the follow-up and the follow-through. Back to you, Tammy.
so as we look at the Pareto principle, and I'm sure many of you have heard of that, maybe seen us do the training on that as well, but the 80-20 rule, how it applies to us in network marketing. For example, 80% of your time, and I want you to write this down, if you're not a Diamond associate, 80% of your time is spending your time working on new business, 80%. Now, there's going to be times that are unique where you have driving leaders that are really evolving. So, you know, the percentage might change slightly, but 20% of your time will be on the management stuff. All right. So 80% of your time should be driving new business, whether it's helping one of your team members on a 3-way call, whether, getting on a Zoom session, doing some follow-ups with people, whatever it is that's going to generate business for you or new customers. Same thing, business, anything income generated, 80% of your time must be spent on this. If you want to grow a large organization or any size of an organization where you're going into momentum. And, at our stage, Chris and I, we do whatever we can to put a higher percentage in the new business aspect of it. Actually, recently, we've been doing quite a bit of it. And when we're not doing the management part of it. So it's very, very important that we're all actively doing this.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, there's a lot of work that is behind the things that we're working on right now, Tammy and I. We are evolving. Social media is becoming a major, major part of what we do. But we're still, some of you might have seen some of our posts, and we're still out there. We're meeting people in groups here in Daytona Beach, Florida. When we're back to Canada and Toronto, we'll be doing the same thing. So you got to go in front of people. And something, folks, sometimes what happens is we've been in a business for X amount of years. And what happens is we lose that excitement. We lose that sense of thirst. The H is with the French people, right? The thirst for the success, right? We tend to feel, we've been sucking the same candy for years, and but it's a mindset, and this is the thing you need to understand. It is a mindset. It is all in the mind. That new shiny toy, and we always think that we need that new shiny toy, and not realizing that what we have is the envy of the industry. It really is. In fact, people need this more than ever. I don't know if you're aware of what's going on with some of the banks in the United States. I mean, the economy is just going belly up. But I can tell you one thing. Is people absolutely need what we have to offer. And when you provide a solution to a common problem, we know that immune deprivation, right? The immune systems, people's conditions are not going better because of the environment that we're exposed to, especially in the past 3 years. What we have is important, and your voice is more important than ever. That's the reason why we say that your fortune are in the follow-ups. You got to go back to people you spoke to. You got to go back and ask them again, remind them of what it is that we have. And someone may turn around and says, what is this again? Can you give me information again? Can I try the product? And you can actually revive a lot of business that you think is actually old and buried. So stay the course in following up and following through in your follow-up. And be organized. We'll touch on that a little bit, but be organized in who you spoke to, what was shared, especially if products was given, either sold or given. Make sure that you follow up. There's a string attached to these products for people to try them. And the follow-up is critical, and your posture, how you follow up, is critical. And of course, that you do this on social media, at the end of the day, it comes down to the same thing. And it's to follow through with the people that you've been contacting with for years. So we cannot stress this enough. So back to the rules, Tammy.
Yeah. So 80% of the sales require 5 follow-ups. I want you to write that down. 5 follow-ups after an initial contact. So think about all the times that you've contacted people. Did you do 5+ follow-ups with that one person? If you got a good system in place, it's easier to do this. So you can follow along and put dates beside it. I know that's what I do. But 44% of salespeople give up after one. Imagine. And back in the days when we did lead generations, they would sell these leads over and over and over, these companies, and make a fortune selling the leads, because they know that people are going to try and connect with somebody one time, and maybe they got a voicemail or whatever, and they they never went back and followed up on it. So it's very, very important that we understand a minimum of 5 times. And in the process, as you're building relationship, you're going to find that in that process, people are going to be more and more open with you when you keep that follow-up process. 44% stop following up after 1. 22%, as you can see, will stop following up after 2 rejections. 14% will stop following up after 3. 12% after 4 rejections, and 8% do follow up after 8% 5 times. And this is, when I saw this chart, it was mind-boggling, because it made me realize that I needed to be better in my follow-up process. And I don't know how many years ago I saw that, but that has made an impact on me in my follow-up process. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure that I'm doing the numbers, that I make sure that I'm doing well over 5. I don't know how many times I've done well over 10 over the years, and have brought people in, and they have said to me, I am so grateful that you never gave up on me. How many times has somebody said that to you? I am so grateful that you never gave up on me. You kept following up, because some people have stuff in their lives, and some take a longer period of time to go through their stuff. And, some, you never know. That's why your process should be very regularly, not to the point where you're hounding people.
No.
Ask them questions. I find when I ask them, when would you like me to follow up with you? Let's say the timing's not working for them again. And then I'm going to say, you know what, I totally get you, but I just want to keep you in mind that you can build this on a very part-time level. You choose your own hours. I remind them what's available for them. And then I'll say, when do you want me to follow up? And they'll tell me. And then what do? I put it in my schedule, and I follow up, and we get back to the same conversation that we had when we left it, because I have notes.
Now, on that note, you see, Tammy, and you're absolutely correct with the numbers. And the average person needs 7. It's after 7 that they ignite.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look at the numbers, right? 8% out of 100%, 8% will stop after 5 times, and 7 is the average. So why do you think a lot of folks don't make it, or don't reach their goals, or it takes them an eternity to get to their goals? It's because these numbers are not followed. If you understand my meaning, is you have to be patient with the process. You have to be organized in the process of following up with people. This is one thing that Tammy and I have. We are very organized with the people that we connect with, that we follow up with. And I never stop following up. They end up somewhere. But the thing is, and Tammy said it really well here, you do not want to hound people. You do not want to upset people by constantly dropping information that they're not interested in getting. That is a skill. And that skills, this is what we are sharing in these calls. How do we go? How do we cover some of these things? And in fact, if you go through the 90-day runs that we are doing 5 times a week since January 4th of 2023, there is so many examples of how you can actually communicate, connect with someone. That people are talking about social media. Yeah. But I see a lot of people doing social media, make no money ever. Why is that? It's the approach. They're impatient. They don't follow through. They don't focus on building the relationship. They have an agenda, and that agenda comes across. And the fact is, as you become more of a professional in this industry, you're in a better position to read the need of the person. See, all the principles that we've been sharing before, they're all there. It's just communicated through a different matter, through a different tool. So remember this over here, okay? 8% out of 100 people, 8 will go all the way up to 5. And it goes even smaller up to 7. And the average converts after 7. So I'm spending a few minutes on that because it's important you understand the reason. It's not because of social media. It's because people don't follow through in making the connection that they made initially. That's what you need to get from this. And folks, yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah, especially when you're talking to strangers. Like, it's so much easier to talk to somebody you already know, whether it's a warm contact or a really hot contact of people in your social environment. You already know them. It's easier to have conversations with them. And when you're dealing with the cold market, it's easier when you're belly to belly, because energy matches energy, and you just either know if you're going to instantly connect or not. And then you can expand on these conversations if they're open to exchange information or their contact information, so you can send them information or meet up with them because you had a really good rapport. But on social media, there's so much I guess spamming. I mean, I'm sure some of you have already gone through stuff like that. I know I have. I made connections with people. It wasn't even actually these people. So, people are more reserved on the social media platform, and you're always going to have a bunch of people out there too, that all they do is respond to negativity. And, you could put the best thing out there, and sometimes there's that one person, hey, they're trying to get some attention. And the key is not to give them attention, and just
Tammy, I wanted, sorry for cutting in, but I wanted to let you know, Perry from Daytona Beach, Florida is actually here from, I hope you don't mind, Perry. He's on Facebook Live. And we just spoke to Perry a couple of days ago from Tampa.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, and hey, Perry, how are you? And I should say, hey, Perry, how are you? I was looking at my phone. So the fact here is, and understand is to be patient. Yeah. And you have to keep following through. It doesn't matter what you use, right? Don't be seduced by all the colorful little things and what people say, what people do. At the end of the day, what's important is that you focus on what the person needs, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and follow through on what you say you're going to do. But there's so many ways to follow through, and the one thing that you have to be careful is what you see here on the slide. This disappointment, discipline them, because it is not going to go away. The disappointment, it's part of the process. And I know we're human beings, and it's disappointing when you felt that someone could do so well, but unfortunately, they chose to go the other way, or they just couldn't see past their limitations. That's the reason why following up is important, because in the following up, you can drip information in a professional manner. If it's a person who comes from a technical background, well, that's what they want. If it's a person who comes in from a financial background, well, that's what they want. So do your homework on the person before you meet the person. Understand what matters to them. And the better you are prepared of understanding that, the better your results will be. But you need to discipline your disappointments, because they will come. It's part of the process. Tell me, how many times we've seen leaders and associates jumping ship into different deals, and we talk to them 10 years later, the majority of them, I would say most of them, are doing a job now. And we're talking, some people have made a lot of money, back to a job. We're still networkers. We're still living the life. That's because, and again, folks, it's not about bragging. It's to impress upon you what we're telling you. Is Tammy and I are like, I don't know if it's a good example, Tammy, maybe I can speak for myself. I'm like a dog on the bone, right? I don't want to see my wife.
I was going to say the little shots that keep shooting.
Okay. But the thing is, we just hang on to that. I hang on to that piece of bone. Yeah. I'm not going to let go. Right. And that's our personality. But I'm not saying you need to, again, you have to live your life the way you choose to. What I'm telling you are some of the principles to be able to succeed, it doesn't matter if it's network marketing or any kind of traditional business, because network marketing is a traditional business. We are in sales and we build network and we're promote, right? We motivate, we evolve, we train, we learn. That's what business is all about. But we never stop. We stay the course. Every Monday we are here, unless there's a holiday or something. Right? Every single week we present without fault, no excuse. We're always there. And if we can't make it, we will find someone to replace. And if that doesn't work, we'll find another solution. But that's the thing, is we're constantly disciplining our disappointments. Tammy, do we have disappointments from time to time?
Of course. Of course.
Lots.
And you know, the thing is, we're dealing with people, right? And the emotion of people. And Chris and I recently went to a session with a couple of really dynamic people who are looking at Max right now. And I don't know if you can see this book. It says, "Hey, are you talking to me?" You see that question mark?
Yeah, we can see it.
It's designed for real estate agents, but it's really for everybody. And it's how to relate successfully to other people. It says in the real estate market. And Alex, he actually lives here in the building, and his wife, they're investors and in the real estate industry. And he's he's a co-author with this book, and he did a session. He's very dynamic, but he talked about personality types. You gotta listen to people to understand their personality type. If you're the personality type that just wants to give information to somebody, you would lose a guy like that. I mean, he's like, just give it to me. I'll try it. If it works for me, I'll talk to everybody. You know, so you're dealing with different personality types all the time. So learn personality types. So when you're connecting with people, you can easily adapt in the conversation. So it was nice to get that reminder, Chris, because we've done the colors, we've done the animals in the learning the personality types. And this one, he calls it DISC. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So in following up, and that's the point, and keep in mind, and I want to underline the personality types. This is what I meant by learn your prospect, learn to understand your prospect's style, personality. I know I can speak with someone for 5 minutes. I can tell most of the time, because I've been doing this for so long, just by even the way they posture themselves, by the way they dress, the words they use, how they speak, all of these things. But the thing is, in following up, there's concept and goals. And the first thing is, it's very important that you take note when you speak with someone as to what was said. I don't mean to write everything down, but point form, what was communicated, what was said, what you felt was important in the conversation. And from there, when you tell them you're going to follow up with at a certain time, I suggest that you don't call an hour later or a day later with an excuse, because it takes away the credibility of professionalism. If they're not there, that's on them, and that's totally cool. You can reschedule all of that, but you got to follow up and do the things you said you will do. That is very, very important, right? The other point here is, what is the goal? And the goal is to always get the person to get to the next step. See, many of you are going there and hoping that this time you'll be able to sell them on the product, or maybe they're going to become an associate, or maybe they're going to add on to the team. And it's often it happens, and it will happen that way, but sometimes it won't happen that way. Again, discipline your disappointments. And they're not disappointments when you think about it. It's just another stepping stone or another step towards the ultimate goal, is to get them on board or to get them as a customer. Either way, for me, the customer, it's my default if they're not open to the business right away. Doesn't mean a business won't be open later on, but that's just the way I work. And it just happens to be the way my business is developed, right? So the fact is, what is the next exposure, right? And every time you finish a conversation, that's the difference between the amateur and the professional. Right? The amateur is looking forward to hang up that phone because they're a little bit nervous and they're afraid of the rejection, where the professional will get the information and will gear them to the next step. So what's the next step from here? What do you feel you need, or what you think would be important to you to either try or see or what, again, use a conversation based on the common sense of that conversation. And then from there, help them make a decision, help them walk along the path, because everybody wants to make money, folks. Don't kid yourself. Everybody wants to make money. The question is the disbelief, or the disbelief in a supplement, because they just don't know what it is. And they're comparing you to some other stuff that they've heard before. So again, it's going to come in your posture. That's why third-party credibility, that's why the roundtable discussions that we've been talking about in previous calls are so critical and so valuable. And those of you that use that will actually do well. Tammy, if you want to continue from 3, go ahead.
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier, it takes an average of 4 to 6 exposure before they make any decision to join your business. And the more you get to know, like unpeel the onion, the more you get to know where it hurts the most, the easier it is to bring the conversation of the opportunity or the products. Sometimes it's just not the timing to even bring up the business if somebody's not doing well with their health, or they're concerned about a very close family member or whatever. You got to use your common sense in this business. And when you're thinking about people and your goal is about helping people, then your common sense works really well. But if you go there with an agenda and your focus is only on what you're going to say next, you will have a very difficult time in this business. You got to be in the moment, and you got to really understand where they're coming from, because when you do, they sense it. And when you care, they sense it. What's that saying? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? So, and that sometimes that takes practice, because sometimes we're hungry, right? We just want to get everything done. And I know I used to be like that. I just wanted everything to be fast, and you have to learn to slow down and build these relationships, because what happens is when you build strong relationships, people stay. People stay. They'll stay for the relationships. Okay. So number 4 is to condense the exposure before for better results. I like to do this a lot. Like I said, I want results. So I'll try and condense those exposure. Like, let's say somebody said, the product looks really interesting. And I'm just going to come right out and say, well, why don't you just try it and get a feel for yourself, rather than go, what did you like best about the product that you were looking at? Tell me some more. I'm just going to go right for it, because that's who I am. But you have to be comfortable doing it. And they may take a step back, and I'm okay with that, because I jumped in, and they may just be like, yeah, you're right. And they just jump in and they want to be a customer. So I think people will follow you too. They'll do what you do. So if you're too reserved, it's not a good thing. Don't be too safe, because people are looking for people to guide them. We're all used to being told what to do from childbirth, right? We're all used to it. As employees, we're told what to do. And then we come into network marketing, and now we're independent business owners. And now we got to put our pants on, our big girl skirts and our big boy pants. We got to put we got to put that posture on. And sometimes it's not easy, but you have to do it, and you'll get comfortable over time. So number 5 is our goal is to understand where the interest lies in the person. So don't make it about yourself and what you want to sell. Make it about what their needs are and what they would want to have. Show them how Max can be a benefit that's going to benefit whatever need that it is that they have. Show them the different sign-up packs. This is something that I do right away. I always want to meet people where I'm in front of or have access to technology, because my goal is always to show them what's there. And
I want to use an example. I want to use an example that we just did with Janet a couple of days ago, where Janet was already prepared and ready to show the packs, right? And hey, Venus, how are you? So from there, what happens is she had right away, because we're doing a Zoom session. And this is exactly what I do. I always have the page ready, open to sign someone up in the event that they're ready to come in. So when I call someone, I prepare to sign the person up. So again, mindset. When you do your follow-up, are you prepared? If the person says, I'm in, are you ready? Or are you going to be shocked and completely not ready and have to book another call, which the iron is not hot anymore and you may lose the lead? I don't know how many times we've been through a situation like this with some team members, right? The cell was there, but they were just not mentally ready. And so very important that you see over here. Have the package ready and available close to you. And that way, again, your ratio will increase. So if you want to carry on, Tammy, and finishing your last thoughts before I switch page.
Yeah. So when I'm meeting people online too, I always make sure that I walk them right through the whole process and see if they're ready to get started. When I'm belly to belly with people, I always have technology, but I also have intro packs. And you got to have product on you when building your business. You know, a lot of people want to buy now and they just want to try something. So you can get the customer order in. Don't think you can't get that order in, because you can, because there's only a week there. And I always tell people, you know, to commit to 90 days. So get the order in so that by the time they're finished their intro, then their package has come in and they're ready to give it a really good shot. So always think of that when you're doing the follow-up business part of it.
Yeah. So here are the 6 questions. These are really key questions that you are on social media interacting with your prospect, or you're phoning someone, or you're meeting someone, right? Remember, when you met someone, you might have used the app, you might have sent them a video, you might have sent them to go see Matt, whatever you feel meets the need of your prospect. And one of the various things, did you get a chance to watch the video? What did you like best? This is something that I always ask. What did you like best? Right. And so the fact here is if they turn around and they say, well, I like this, I like that, it gives you a direction of where the interest lies. Okay. So that's very important. And based on that, based on their response, well, you want to carry on, you want to continue the conversation. And the thing is, when you're in social media and you're posting your stuff and you found, let's say, an influencer, and you're starting to interact with the person, you don't want to interact. Remember, you do not want to interact where the post is relying where everybody can see, right? You want to take them off the platform into Messenger or Telegram or WhatsApp, whatever works best for you. You want to take them out of that environment and bring them to another environment where you can interact with them in a better, comfortable way. So, and then from there, when you interact with them, then they start sharing some things. And the next question is, well, tell me more about that. What, based on what they liked, get them to expand, get them to talk. The more they talk, the more you help them elevate the interest, and you even help them realize what matters to them. It's really important what we're talking about here. So these first 3 questions are very, very important. And number 4, sometimes when I have no idea, some people are just, they have a cold, you just don't know how they feel, what they think. And I will simply ask them from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what's your level of interest? And if it's a 7, I think I can probably sign him up, or they can probably buy something, right? That's what happened to one of our prospect that came to visit us from, was it Pompano Beach? I forgot which lives.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So from there, there was conversation where do you stand with the information? Oh, he says, I'm a 9. I'm actually very interested. In fact, I'd like to meet you and talk further about it. Then I stopped talking about it. I didn't go on all night. It was over. And then we talked about it the next day. Again, just food for thought. Another thing, and I used this example earlier that I often use, based on what you've seen, I may not read it exactly the way it's written. I do it in my own language. Based on what you've seen, what do you feel you need to see? What do you need to do? What would be what would be the next step for you to be able to make a decision? What is important? What matters? And then from the person will tell you, well, I'd like to see a presentation. Oh, cool. Okay. As a matter of fact, there's one tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, or Wednesday or Thursday. Which one's more convenient? As a matter of fact, there's another one in the afternoon also. So I always try to get to the next exposure. I ask questions, and this is what Fraser Talk's all about. When you do the social media and exchange, it's always interacting. You post something, there's interest, then you continue the conversation and you build on that conversation. Take him off the platform, continue the conversation. What's nice about today's tools, you don't need a phone line anymore. You just need Wi-Fi. You just call people either through WhatsApp or Messenger or Telegram, whatever. And then you communicate with them. And again, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, as long as Max is operating there. I mean, geez, it's just beautiful, right? And then from there, based on what you saw, you ready to get started? Don't be afraid to ask the question. These are the 6 questions. So that's the 6th one, is don't be afraid to ask for the sell. It's okay if they say no. But I tell you, if a hockey player keeps throwing the puck to the net, right? As a Canadian, I use that as an example often, right? The chances are you're going to score a whole lot more than the person never tries, because they're afraid of missing. And this is often what happens. People are afraid to ask for the sell in case they say no. It's okay if they say no. Might as well find out now. And then from there, that's when the real work begins. Why did they say no? What's the challenge? What's the obstacle? And often this could be converted into a yes if it makes sense. Anything you want to add, Tammy?
No, the next slide, I like the next slide because
Yes.
it actually qualifies them to even do business with you. So I like to play with this one. And often I don't even use the exact words that are here. We're just so used to doing it. We just naturally connect with people. So let's just say, based on their interest level, I don't know, they might be 5 and above. So there's a good chance they may have an interest to even jump in. So you could say something like, hey, Lucy, hypothetically, how much money would you want to make for this, if this would be worth your time? How much money would you want to make? And let's say Lucy says $2,000 a month. And I say, okay, great. So how many hours, Lucy, do you think you'd be able to put into this for you to achieve that goal? And let's say Lucy says 15 hours a week. She would be able to put in 15 hours. And I said, awesome. So how much time are you willing to give it for this to really take its course, doing your 15 hours a week, and to be able to earn that $2,000 a month? And so let's say that Lucy turns around and says, you know what, I'm willing to give it 6 to 12 months. I say, awesome. So if I can show you, Lucy, how to make $2,000 a month, working those 15 hours, of committed hours every single week, I'll be working hand in hand with you, and we'll work really, really hard for the next 6 to 12 months. Would you be ready to get started if this condition was possible for you? Would you be willing to get started? And let's say Lucy says yes. Right away, I get her information and I get her signed up. I do a 3-way, introduce her to one of my business partners so that she feels like she made a great decision, and they're going to welcome her to the team. We're going to get her engaged right away so that she feels that she's made that really, really good decision. So if she says no, I'm going to ask her, is there any questions that she might have to move to the next step? And she may want to have more information. She may turn around and say, well, I need to talk to my spouse. It could be many things. So that's when you can start handling those objections. And anybody who turns around and says to me, well, I really need to discuss this with my spouse. And I say, you know what, this is a really, really good decision. Why don't we set up an appointment so that my husband and I can sit down with you and your husband, and we can go through the same information so he gets to see exactly what you're seeing.
You know, what's really, oh, sorry, I thought you were pausing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. Because if you let people just randomly go and talk to their spouse, guaranteed they're not going to say what you say, right? Because they have no experience. and they're just going to blow it. So don't let them go and talk to their spouse on their own. You want to set up appointments to do this in a professional manner.
Mhm. And one thing that I wanted to mention, Venus talked about here, we need to have products, inventory of products. And this is absolutely correct. It goes back to, are
Absolutely.
you ready? For example, I know, Tammy, you sold $80 of intro pack, right?
Yeah.
In Canada, we sell them for 50. In the US, we sell them for 40. We're talking, the packages. In your case, we replaced the Enfuse with 6 ATP instead of the 3 ATP and 3 Enfuse. We just put 6 ATP in there with the bottle of Salsivity, and we sell for $40. We sell 2
Yeah.
packages, made 80
And her and her
bucks.
friend are meeting me on Friday. They want to see the business together. So
Yeah. So the fact is that we found we get a lot more results if we sell
Yeah.
the intros and give them away. And you can, depending on who you're speaking to, but generally when you speak with someone that you just don't know, you just met, they're okay. I mean, you bought this product, you're not making profit really, you're selling it at cost, right? So it's as simple as that. So these are the qualifying questions. And the fact is follow-ups are required and the organization, that's what I meant earlier. You need to be organized. Now we have a form here that you can download. Okay. You can access this. If you go to, for example, on activeteam.com or activeteamgroup.com, and then from there, just select documents and then select Canada, USA, you would select English, and then you would select new associate orientation or training. Just go through the process. You'll see it there, and you'll see the NAO, and that's where this file is there. You can get the PDF where you can use a pencil and write on it if you're more old school. If you're like me, you like, having things in your devices, then just download the Excel spreadsheet. You can actually get it there and take note of these things. Take note of who you spoke to and how many you spoke to and what you gave them. If you only speak to one person, I can appreciate it may not be needed, but if you start building your business seriously and you speak to 4 to 5 to 10 people a week or a day, then I'm telling you, it will serve you well to have an action report. Because if you speak to a lot of people and you get no conversion, there's something wrong with what you're saying. Maybe you're talking too much, you're selling too much, you're giving too much data, or maybe all of that is great and it's perfect, but you just never ask for the sale. And these are all things that we can measure, and that's why it is important. So going to the next slide, Tammy, these are some of the assignments. So I'll let you kind of finish up here.
Yeah. So just every day, whatever hours you put into Max, just have that calculation in the timing that you're putting in, and to be really aware of the times that you're putting into building your business compared to managing your business. There's no money in managing. The money is in the building. Mm-hmm. Okay. Of course, if you have your people duplicating, that's a different story, right? If they're out there duplicating it, but that's part of the money making also, because often in the duplication process, you're going to be brought in to help out with, being a guest speaker on a training call, doing a opportunity presentation with your brand new associate, teaching them how to, that's all part of growing your business. And then of course, Chris, you just went off the map there.
Oh, I thought I was long enough to. I thought I was long enough to. Actually,
I was still on the first one.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry about that. Well,
yeah,
set your daily goals, to follow up, which is really, really important. And again, it's to remember where to access the the action report.
Yeah.
And but just carry on, Tammy. I thought you were. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So just to keep track, that's the most important thing. The follow-up process, you need to have a system. The most organized person I know that's so systematic and she gets a lot of results. It's Lucy Caron. That woman is so structured with her organization of where she meets people, different countries. She's got every single detail of conversation, the key points that are the most important. So every single follow-up that I know that Lucy does, she's got it nailed. She can go back to the same conversation as I can. It's like we were talking yesterday and we haven't talked in whatever, but we can go back to that same conversation because we're very structured in that way. So it's to build that muscle of organization. It's key. Your business will be so much easier when you're structured.
This is an understatement. I've seen a
Mhm.
huge difference from folks that are organized with their data and their process and their, the details and even the finances. And this is something that I want to do is I have a really good training on how to get out of debt because I was in debt up to my eyeballs and I was extremely well organized on how I got out of debt. It's a simple spreadsheet. And I will do this training. I will make it available for everybody because I think it could really help a lot of folks. When you have clarity, it is just unbelievable how simple life becomes. Doesn't matter the challenge that are thrown at you. That's why we're telling you as you're following up, being organized is critical. It will make the difference between success and failure. It's that serious. So that
That
comes
would be a
to
great training,
Mhm,
Chris,
mhm.
for everybody to bring in prospects
Well, what I'll do, Tammy, is I may not
as
just do it
well.
live. I may just
Yeah,
record it on Ecamm and
I
then
see.
like I did for example, the webinar, and
Mhm.
I can just kind of clean it all up and compress it. And that way it's a good training, a quick training. They can download the spreadsheet, they can watch the training. And I'm telling you, anybody, I'm telling you, even our government, if they would just follow that, it would make a huge difference. But that's not going to happen in
Our
this
kids
lifetime.
have to go through this with us.
But the
They
thing
hate
is,
us sometimes.
it is simple. My son, I remember when I did this training of just organizing his finances, he says, "Oh wow, I can
Yeah.
breathe. I feel good now." But it doesn't matter how bad things are. Once you are clear on how bad things are, and now you have a direction towards good, it just changes the whole perspective of your daily activities, your motivation, and your synergy and your motivation to do things. So that's something I do promise I will get this done and I will make that available. So that comes to an end on this training. And I know, Tammy, you mentioned that some folks wanted to strategize this evening, so I can stop the recording, stop the live, and then on this note, is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, if anybody wants to stay back, because we did have a conversation last week.
Okay,
Just
sorry,
kind of,
Tammy, just before you
Mhm.
carry on. So folks, if you're listening in here, I'm just going to end the training on this note. So thank you for joining on Facebook Live. It's always a pleasure. And let me just stop the recording over here and we are good. And stop.